To start off, what was your journey? Can you tell me about it in terms of starting as a student in MBP and how you progressed into your career?
Started as a student in the masters, and I was originally told that I have to get a PhD in order to be successful in life. And I guess halfway through that journey, I realized that as much as I love science, I love discussing science, I love thinking science, I love reading science, I couldn't stand doing science. And so I started looking elsewhere, other options for myself, and I discovered that the pharma world, if you're interested in pursuing more of a business approach, a business career in the pharma world, PhD is great to have, but absolutely not necessary for you to be successful. And no, you won't reach a glass ceiling by doing that. So I started looking for different options. I graduated and started joining different pharma companies until I landed at Boehringer Ingelheim, where I'm currently and now I'm the oncology therapeutic specialist for the company.
Just tell me, what are some of your favorite aspects of your current position?
I guess in contrast to the research world, where you're hoping to land on a solution that might or might not help patients 20 years down the road, right now I know that I'm helping patients as we speak. So I'm working on various projects to improve healthcare for patients with lung cancer, in my case right now. But I'm seeing the benefit and I'm hearing those successful stories that just make my day that much better, because I know that anything that I do, the interactions, the ideas that I have in mind eventually will lead to better patient outcomes, and that's what I was always interested in.
What are some of the new things that you might have had to have learned for your job that you didn't necessarily learn during your degree?
The biggest thing was, in research we always zoom in to that protein you're working on or that pathway you're interested in. It's always hard to zoom out and to look at the big picture. So when I joined the business world, that's what we're all about. You have to zoom in, but you have to know how to zoom yourself out in order to see the big picture, not just the tiny little, product you're promoting or whatever. So that was a big learning curve for me, and yeah, I enjoyed it.
What is it that you might be interested in pursuing in the future? So where do you see yourself going along your career?
Definitely stay in the sales, marketing, consulting roles in pharma. I absolutely love this act. It's great. I mean, I know that we're perceived as the evil by the academia, but we're honestly all about the patients, and we're there to make sure that patients have better outcomes. Mm-hmm. I ideally want to stay in oncology, and management, directorship, we'll see what happens.
Does your graduate research tie into the work you do right now, and in what ways, if it does?
Absolutely. I mean, I have to be on top of my science in order to carry out conversations with, medical oncologists, with pharmacists. I have to really understand the science behind the medications that either I'm promoting or the company's developing, so that I can better, express the message, better explain what we're all about, and help physicians realize what's the ideal spot for the medication that I'm working with. Because they're all very smart, but because there are so many different options on the market, sometimes they need that help to get an understanding as to which patient would benefit the most from the drug that I'm working with.
Are you currently located in Toronto, or are you working somewhere else?
I'm all over the place. So I cover basically Ontario East, so I'm all the way from Brampton to Ottawa.
Wow.
To traveling all over the place. My wife is not too happy, but she'll be fine.
Do you have any advice that you would give to today's graduate students?
Be curious. So, growing up, always told my friends, and I don't know where I got it from, but an old shark cannot teach a young shark how to hunt. So be curious, ask the questions, try to find your own pathway, because no one can tell you whether you're right or wrong, only you know. And don't be afraid to question and challenge the status quo. That's the biggest thing.
Looking at your own career path, looking back, is there anything that you think you might have done differently, or if you had to do it again, you would do the same thing?
Honestly, I'm not the type of person to look back and feel sorry for myself or for the mistakes that I made. I think that with the tools that I was given, I think I did the best I could. And my way is always to look future, look ahead, and what I got right now. If if I look back, yeah, I may have made some adjustments to what I picked originally in terms of career path, but I'm absolutely happy with where I stand right now. And yeah, it's okay.
And you mentioned that you did an MSc but not a PhD.
Yes.
So how about for people who are on the edge, on the fence in terms of they're doing their MSc and they're thinking about PhD, so what was your thought process when you were deciding to just go straight into industry or to just not do a PhD?
That's an awesome question. Honestly, Danielle, that's the question. I pictured to myself, would I be okay with having a career as a researcher for the rest of my life? And it doesn't mean that if you go to a PhD, that's what's going to happen, but it's an option. And I realized very quickly, it took me all of 2 seconds to understand that I would never, will never, hell no, don't want a career as a researcher. I mean, there's nothing wrong with having a career as a researcher. I mean, it's awesome. If you have the guts to do a PhD and you have the passion to do a PhD, that's awesome, good for you. But I realized that I want to be out in the field. I want to see people, interact with people, and hopefully provide solutions right now instead of sitting in the lab and, you know, speaking to my own pipette. That was my journey. So when I realized that there's absolutely no way I can pursue a career as a researcher, that I don't love science that much, I realized that there's no point for me to invest 5-6 more years of my life to being miserable. I might as well just get out on top and find a new journey for myself as whatever I can find. And you know what, when I look back, that's one of the options I'm most proud of myself for having the guts to make, because instead of just, you know, going with the flow and hoping for the best, I knew when it was time to got out. And in my eyes, I'm a lot of steps ahead of where I would have been if I did not have these guts.